Okay, thank you for watching here on TikTok Live at Blooming Light, Blooming Tribe, or wherever you end up seeing this video at some point, okay? Once again, I don't want to stay too long on intros. If you are not familiar with me, I invite you to check out my platform here. I also invite you to click on the links here to the other platforms that I have, okay? Now, I want to add some disclaimers. I'm going to start to say a lot more regularly. I do not initiate contact, okay, with anybody. I do not initiate, with the exception of if I have followed you and I notice something and then somebody tries to reach out to me guising as you, then I will initiate that type of a communication. But outside of that, I do not initiate contact. So if any of you out there are receiving any kind of, inboxes, emails, and stuff like that, beware. My devices, my phone has already been cloned. So just beware. That's why I like to say this a lot. I don't initiate, conversations. I don't advertise in that way, with the exception of sharing a live or something like that. But I'm never saying, hey, I'm selecting a few of my people for a free reading, and hey, I've selected, thank you. I don't do that. Okay. And just be mindful of that. That is something that is very common in social media nowadays. So I'm letting y'all know that straight away. Okay, I do not initiate contact. I don't engage that way. I don't try to hustle you in your inbox. I don't try to offer you no free reading in your inbox. I do not, on other people's content and platforms and stuff like that, I don't engage. Yep, you heard it. The only thing that you'll ever know or find out is if I go onto a live, and if I happen to stay, then I will engage and I'll type, tap on the screen like I'm supportive. But even then, be careful, because I do have people impersonating me, as do many content creators, okay? So just because you see a picture and the name is, you guys got to be careful out there. These people, these criminally minded people, are very, very, very slick, and they have all of the time of the world to do that. A lot of people then assume some things because they didn't, do their own due diligence, or they didn't pause to take a double look. They just saw a picture, they just saw a name, they just saw, and they just automatically, yeah, that's them, and it ain't. Okay. Also, as I said, I'm aware that my technology has been hacked, has been surveillanced and cloned. So with that being said, that's why it serves. Like, if you catch me live, that'll be possibly the best time, to figure out, okay, is this the person? Well, that's chances are that's how you're going to get it. Unless there are people that, record you and then they'll just go, people are weird. Okay. They're just weird. So just be careful. Okay. That's not what this live is about. This was just some intros, just to keep that in mind. Okay. Now, I think the title, I said, yes, you are to the collective. Yes, you are. And that's why ... Okay. So this is pertaining to the targeted individuals, the benevolent collective that I'm usually referencing, and those of you who are parents. Okay? You are a good parent. I didn't say you were a perfect one. I said you're a good parent. Damn good parent, most of you, and you surpass what you've come from. By far, hands fucking down. Okay? Now, here's the caveat. Most of you, through your own trauma, especially if you were a child parent, like if you were a teenager and you had a baby, okay? And before your enlightenment or before you started coming to yourself and doing all those things, you recognized your own toxicity, and you may have carried a lot of stuff because of it. You may even feel bad because you feel like, well, what your children were, what they were susceptible to because of you, because of not even just your mistakes, but just because of who you are. You know, it's kind of like royalty. You know, I hate to say that because everybody always want to call, you know, everybody royal now, bitch. No, everybody ain't, nigga. Anyway, go back. I hate to use that because it's something common and loosely used. You know, I come from a royal, you know. Well, what I'm referencing right now is like in the physicality, let's say in certain societies, and, you know, when someone wants to come against a country, a person, a nation, a group, if they're royalty, like their children are at higher risk just as a byproduct. It doesn't matter how, you know, good of a parent they might be, but just by nature of you are the son of sa, you are the daughter of da da da. And so if they're out for you, then they're definitely out for your children. Okay? So sometimes there's suffrage because of you. So you could have dealt with all these different layers of guilt because it's like this, you know, because of who I am, because I'm a truth speaker, because I'm a truth seeker, because I refuse to cave, because, you know, one thing and another, they're suffering because I ain't finna kiss the ass and now narc motherfucker, you know, them day. And so, you know, people who have it in for you, that's kind of a way to get to you. So here's what I want to tell you though. This is for those of you that this applies to. You are a good parent. Here's what I want to talk about. So meanwhile, your life have been sabotaged. You come into some truth, proofs, and facts of knowledge about the reality that people have been in the background sabotaging your life. Okay? This is on a holistic scale, sabotaging your stability, sabotaging your resources, sabotaging your efforts, which it spills off into what? How you show up in everything on the surface, right? So the individuals that have been targeting you and doing the things that they have been doing to you, even and your children, would have you convinced, would try to have you convinced, as well as the rest of the world, that you are a bad parent because you can't seem to stabilize. Meanwhile, they know that they're affecting your stability. They know that they have traumatized you and your children. They know that they are actively participating in that. Okay? But in terms of your parenthood, many of you have been fighting for your life and for your children, which is something that they did not do, which they still don't do. Yep, you heard it correctly. They didn't do. They were too weak. Okay? They're sellouts. They sold you out as a child and they sold you out as an adult. So something that they don't hold. They've never been a good parent, because a good parent is not just the physicality. Even most of them weren't able to do that. Shit, let's just keep it on the 100. Shit, you don't even play with me. But not just the physical, not just the, you know, kept a roof over your head and your belly full of food. Okay? It's what kind of stuff are you doing to them? What are you not doing? Are you nurturing? Are you supportive? Who's around them? It goes so far beyond. Do you take them to their doctor's appointments? Are you at their school stuff? Are you at all there at all, bitch? Nigga. Now, your ass is over there smoking. So shut up. Now, too busy home. You know what I'm saying? Too busy drinking somewhere. Don't give me that shit. Now, these are the same people that as they sabotage you and your children and you making do with what you have, doing what they couldn't do even under the best circumstances, doing what they refuse to do even under supreme conditions, doing fighting. In other words, are you fighting to protect your children? Meaning that you gonna guard them, motherfucker, like a fucking, and gonna take out niggas. You heard? If you have to. Those of you who are dealing with anything similar to myself in terms of, my son was diagnosed at age 3. Okay. I'm not going to get too deep into what I know now, but I'll just say he was diagnosed at age 3, okay, with his condition. So while they're trying to size you up and paint this picture, all the while sabotaging you and making things unnecessarily difficult and challenging, you all have, why I say that some of you are good parents, again, you all have been doing and still are doing the things that these people could not, would not do even under better circumstances than you. They're not taking the poop sample of their adult disabled child and walking down the street in the sun to go get it checked to see if the adult child is full of parasites or poisons or toxins or something, because what the fuck is going on? They ain't doing that. They ass can't even fucking, like I said, they can't. They didn't, they can't, and they won't, even under better conditions than you all have had. So what does that say about their parentalhood while they're trying to claim you are not a good parent? What you all do with minimum conditions, with all of the sabotagery energies that have been in the background, is remarkable. And it's honorable, admirable. Some of you have you've been fighting the spiritual, energetic wars. These people ain't do that shit. They ain't do shit. They were part of the problem. Selling off their kids to these weirdo children of the corn. Some of y'all too young to even know that reference. And so I thought about it the other day. I'm like, some people don't even know that reference. You got to be, my generation and older. But, Children of Corn is this old school movie. It was weird. It was like just this weird cult town, where they were weird and shit. And did weird shit. That's the best way I could put it. That's all I remember about it. Is the Children of the Corn. They crazy. It's killing people, bitch, in the cornfields, bitch, and being crazy. Okay? But that's, the very people that is trying to report you to CPS or whatever the fuck they're trying to report you to. The audacity. Because some of these same people aren't good parents or good grandparents or whatever. They're not. They're poor representation to their children. They're poor examples. They're teaching their children how to be sociopathic. You are a good parent. You're fighting for them energetically. People don't see what you do in hours and hours while you watch your child suffer and stuff that's out of this world that nobody believes. Meanwhile, while you're also being attacked, giving them their medication, and not in some weird, kind of crazy movie kind of way. It's like, no, tending to things that people would just especially those of you who have older, like I said, situations similar to myself, you've been a parent for 30 years, 20 years, as if taking care of a child or a high function teenager. Because that's the development of my son, basically. He's at the capacity of like a functioning teenager. With the restrictions. They talked about choices and all of these things. These people were sabotaging everything about your life. And you have been fighting to ensure autonomy, to ensure safety. The mistakes that you've made, you try to change those and make different ones, which includes ceasing to live with people. Because many of you discovered that was also a part of like some kind of a weird, plot to keep you in these environments with people with off energy, to keep you or your children in a living space with other people that's off. So that you would never be really comfortable, or that your children would never truly be comfortable. Okay. So, you started changing that. Like, I'm not going to do, you've been learning your lessons. Okay. I'm not going to do this no more. I'm not going to, if I can help it, I am not going to make the choice to continue to go back to people who've already shown me that they were going to hurt me and not have no regard for my children. I'm not going to go back to people, places, environments that I already know have proven by way of not their words and not their communal narcissistic gifts, but by way of patterned conduct, have already shown me that they don't give two flying fucks about me or my children, then I am not going to put them or myself back in that. That's a part of good parenting. That people just want to look at if what they look like, what kind of clothes are you able to buy them, and all of these things. And these folks have accused you all. Your children were traumatized. They have their disability, and there's things that come with that. They look for comforts. They look for familiarity, and all of these things. And people's ignorance and laziness is a part of the problem. But they. You know what I'm saying? You're a good parent. And most of you are a good parent because you actually do care. You actually do love your child. And not in this sadistic, weird, and incestuous objectification, slavery type of a way. You actually do care and love your child. Unlike what you come from. Okay? Because you ain't doing no weird spells on your children. You're not stealing from your children. You're not sacrificing them to no entity or to no weirdo children of the corn group. You're not talking about your children behind their back and then sending them some kind of weak ass email talking about, you know what I'm saying, I don't want to hurt you. That's all bullshit. To look like that's what's going on. I've learned abusers are usually confessing. They're confessing. When they're making statements, I don't want to hurt you, the real truth is they want to hurt you badly. So that they can get off on that. They need a supply. They need to hear your pain. Yeah. You're a good parent. Not perfect, but you have been learning as you've been re-raising yourself. Because many of you, that's essentially what has had to happen. Sorry, but that's our reality. Because they were none of that. They were none of that as when we were children, and they are none of that as we're adults. Ain't none of that. And got the gall to so-called try to claim you're not a fit or a good parent. They can't even take care of themselves, which is why they're so codependent, which is why they always are manipulating somebody, starting with their lovers. As these people sabotage you, they claim that you can't care for yourself. But under the best conditions that they've had, these people they still cannot fucking manage. This is mind-boggling and blowing for people who have it all set up perfectly for them and not being sabotaged. What the fuck is wrong with them? Why is it so difficult for them to do under the best conditions what they're trying to claim that you can't do under severe conditions that have been manufactured onto you? You are a good parent. They don't see what you deal with behind the scene as you're taking care of these children, especially the adult ones, the disabled ones. They don't see the things that you have to do. Oh, they don't want to wear no other color. They refuse to wear any other color. Oh, they don't want to change their outfit yet until this certain day. So now I'm going to have to make do with this outfit. And then if it's too bad, then I'm going to have to convince them and go through all sorts of challenges just to get it off of them so that we can wash it so that they can put it back on because they need to wear it until a certain day. See, these ignorant MFers don't know nothing about none of that. They're too busy looking on the surface and not knowing the depth that this person has got a shit ton of spell work. People are playing in their energy as well. People are attempting to poison them as well. They can feel they're sensitive to energy as well. This has impacted them. What impacts their parent impacts them. That's why I say people are ignorant, or if they're not ignorant, they just don't fucking care. Because with the knowledge of what impacts the parent, impacts the child, then you would think that would alter motherfuckers' behavior. And it doesn't. As if coming for you wouldn't impact the child or the adult that they claim that you can't take care of. You're a good parent. You're a damn good parent, collective. You have done excellent with and you know, I ain't even gonna say bare minimum means. You have lived, your children have lived in inhumane conditions with inhumane humans. That's you are a good parent. You have done, and I'm not saying you don't have room. I'm sure you have your own goals of trying to improve and do, you know, wanting to continue to, you know, some of you may feel like you want to get them out of this. You wonder how you're going to get them out of these dangerous situations because people are selling you all like cattle. To the children of the corn. To these underworld, you know, toxic dark group, you know, selling y'all like cattle. Or even some of you may feel bad because, you know, you have human desire and you try to give people a shot right as you're giving up on humanity. You try to give people a shot. You try to give people a shot. You try to see if humans still had their humanity intact. You try to give people a shot. Many of you may be in the place where you're like, okay, that's something you regret because, again, that allowance of, you know, opening up to people or to befriend them or for a lover, it's only shown you that your original train of thought was correct. That's the only thing that is done. That your original hypothesis regarding the state of humanity was correct. They're too weak. I'm sorry. Most of them. They're too weak. And the reason why you've discovered it is because this betrayals. People were too easily bought and sold because you can only be bought and sold if you're able to be bought and sold. It wouldn't really matter. See, here's the point. It wouldn't matter if people came for people because if you can't be bought and sold, you can't. If you ain't on some bullshit yourself, if you yourself ain't a sellout, if you yourself, you know what I'm saying, ain't looking for fame, fortune, and money at all cost, then, you know what I'm saying, ain't that nigga bitch can come to you on some bullshit. Talking about, would you do this crazy shit for a fee? So since the targeted population has discovered, like, that could be something that you're working through as far as your parenting, because you're like, see, you know, you may be harder on yourself than people even know. Which also makes you a good parent in a way, because if these motherfuckers had been harder on themselves, they wouldn't have done half of the shit that they done to some of you. You could be saying like, shit, see, you know what I'm saying? Every time I let a human being, shit, every time I let a fucking human being, close, they turn out to be trash bags. Because all it takes is the right dollar amount. All it takes is the right opportunity. All it takes is a come up, an escalade, a down payment, the charges drop, a fuck. All it takes. And they're ready to sell you to the children of the corn like you fucking cattle. The disregard, the audacity, the disregard of their behavior on you and your parenthood and your child, yet want to call you a bad parent. So you guys are working through this stuff, and you are doing what many pretend to have done in your bloodline, or those you grew up with, because some of you may have an interesting story, like myself. They claim to. But see, ain't no amount of churching and spiritualizing gonna do that. It's reality. No good parent is hiding pertinent truths from their children. No good parent don't give me that shit. No good parent is recruiting their children to be a part of a cult so that they can have nice things. No good parent. Okay? A good parent. With your struggles, collective, you are that. Most of these people on the looks like good parents on the surface because they playing a role. They have managed to finagle their ways into having shit. So with that, there's an appearance of they can get whatever they need to get for their children and give them whatever needs to be, and hire whoever they need to hire and do. So there's that surface, but they're not good parents. They're poor representation. They're raising sociopaths. They're creating the next groups and generations of sociopaths and psychopaths. Because who does that? Again, I'm going to say this, collective. These people doing the things that they have done to you and your children continually. I'm talking physically and spiritually. So we're not just talking about, oh, it's imaginary. No, bitch. No, it's not. No. And you have done this with je ne sais quoi. Creative. You are a good parent. Because you won't stand by and let them victimize you is why you're a good parent. You know that a part of what these people have been doing is trying to get you out of the way so that they can get their grubby little sick old hands on your children. You figured that out. And do, have their way to do, more of their weird shit. Without you, your pesky self being in the way. And you won't have it. You're fighting to the death on that one. You won't have it. You see what they've been doing. That's why you're a good parent. You're standing up for justice. That makes you a good parent. And it's when it's not the easiest thing to do, that makes you a good parent. You're using the resources that you have, the knowledge you have, everything that's at your readily available, usage. You are taking that and you are implementing everything within your power. That's what makes you a good parent. Not just if your kids always looking fly. I know people who know how to do that and they're horrible parents. Horrible. Abusive, unnatural, unfeeling, and unnurturing. But they do know how to make their kid look nice, though. You are a good parent. You trying to become the best version of you or aligned to the true authenticity of you and fighting for that to the death is a part of what makes you a good parent too, because you're setting the precedence. You're not talking it. You're living, breathing every day as they get to watch you go through the hurdles that was created for you, as they watch you master some shit that people never thought you would. As they watch you learn how to defend and stand up for yourself in a proper way so that they don't end up becoming a lunatic someday. So that they learn the proper way to deal with shit. That's why you're a good parent. As they watch you take L's and injustices and, deal with meager means that, as they watch you not become crazy and a killer. As they watch you decide to, hey, sure, it's nice. We want, but we gotta have a better way. We have to find a way where it is not hurting lives unnecessarily. We gotta find a way where it doesn't intrude upon somebody else's stability and health and well-being, that it doesn't violate. That's great, but we have to find a way because it's not worth it. We're not going to be people that's sitting up just talking all this jazz, but ain't shit in real life. We're not going to be them people who can create the beautiful social medias and paparazzis and get all of these teams and all of this hoorah. But if truth were to be told, we not shit. If truth were to be told, we're sellouts. If truth were to be told, we're willing to violate whoever we have to violate in order for us to be successful. We will not be those people. We will be just fine and keep our humanity and our soul and our conscience in good health. We will not become the devils that these people are. We will not be these hypocrites carrying and wearing crosses from tall as the Empire State Building, but a killer every day. We will not. And I'm going to show you it not because of my sermons, not because of our weekly discussions. You're going to watch me, and this is how I'm doing it. You're going to see it. You're going to see me cry. You're going to also see me fight in war. You're going to see my victory, but you're going to see the integrity. You're going to see the intentions, the heart, the motive. You're going to see the exampleship. I'm not going to just tell you that. I'm not going to just preach in your ear and tell you what you need to do and be and ought. Meanwhile, I'm trash. I'm going to show you as you watch me suffer. I'm going to show you as you watch me win. What's considered a win versus theft. I am going to show you the difference between authentic victory versus people stealing energy. I am going to show you. I'm going to show you that you don't have to become a weirdo. That you do not have to go down the path of who can I take advantage of today? Who can I violate today? What unsuspecting innocent life can I rob? Pick 'em parts human junkyard. Who is alone that I feel like no one would care about so that I can get away with my nefarious ways? I am going to show you, children, my children, that we ain't gotta be like them. You're going to see, not because of what I'm telling you, you're going to be watching me and you're going to see and know that there are things that I stand against that I will refuse because ain't no amount of fame and fortune that goddamn important to me to where I am going to be willing to hurt my own fucking children. Or where I will be willing to hurt my own blood just because I have a riff with them. Oh, I never liked them anyway. So sure, yeah, I'll agree to that because I feel exactly you reveal who the fuck you are is what you did. Trash. Ain't no amount of popularity that damn deep. Ain't no amount of I'm so fine and look at everybody cheer for me that damn deep. That's what makes us a good parent. When we tell our children we're sorry and we mean it. When we have actual, sincere, authentic accountability with our own children, even when we're uncomfortable, even though we know we're the authority figure, but understanding that they are a person and understanding that we too are flawed. And every time we own up to those flaws, and every time as an adult and as their adults, every time we honor that and say, you know what, no excuses, no fake shit, no half-assedness, nah, I'm wrong. No excuse. I'm sorry. Followed by changed behavior. That's why we're good parents. Because we realize that that title is not a ticket to abuse. That's why we're a good parent. Not because we got them the latest Jordans. We're also a good parent for those of us. You have adult children that are normal, and I shouldn't even say normal, but, functioning as an adult. They have their full capacities. We're a good parent when we live as an example, but also when we stand on business with them. In other words, we are not going to co-sign abusive and toxic behavior in them. That's what makes you a good parent. Where you're not going to sit there and make no excuses. You're not going to downplay. You're not going to do any of that. You're going to speak truly. If something's presented, you're not fencing to say one thing to one of your kids and something to the other kid and doing this one with that one. No. What makes you a good parent is you stand on truth and justice and business as a representation. That's also you reflecting to that adult child that this is who you are. And this is what you're representing. And so as a result, you're not going to be co-signing no crazy shit. You're not going to be a stalker. That's what makes you a good parent. You're not a stalker. What makes us good parents is we're not stalkers. We're not on people's social media stalking and then teaching our children to do the same. We're not on social media stalking and doing ritual work and think that we're sane. That's what makes us a good parent. We're not weirdo creepers. We're not gang stalking people for hire. Because we brokey. That's what makes us a good parent. Okay? We're showing our children how to not be a crazy person in 2025. We're showing them how to not become a sociopath. We're showing them how to not be psychopathic. We're showing them we're teaching them the better ways. And we're also showing them responsibility. Hey, actions, consequences. We won't be making no excuses. We ain't gonna bail them out. You crazy. You a killer. You out here on some bullshit. Don't call me whining, talking about, you know what I'm saying, whoop. Is you into weird shit, your ass? What's happening? Don't call me. Don't do that. The manipulation. We ain't finna do that. You're stalking bitches and niggas. You're stealing shit. Your ass need. So yeah. That's a good parent. A good parent is not going to coddle. They're not going to coddle. It's going to be. They're not going to coddle their adult children. They're not going to give excuses if they have a psychopathic adult child. They're not going to make excuses for it. They're not going to give concessions. They're not going to do that favor over one because they prefer this. No. A healthy, good parent is not a distorted witch or a warlock. A healthy, good parent is not a distorted witch or warlock. A healthy, good parent is not somewhere in a cave or their apartments or their homes or their friend's house, anywhere, everywhere. A healthy, good parent is not somewhere because they're emotionally disturbed or because their feelings are hurt, or not somewhere doing some weirdy shit that's meant to be done with proper order and balance and justice in mind. A healthy adult parent is not doing that as their way of existing, as their way of living, and as their way of winning. A healthy adult parent is constantly working on themselves to evolve and become better and better versions of themselves so that they can leave it as a precedence for their children and adult children on how you fucking do life. It doesn't do any good to be preachy and teachy and claiming to be all of these things when we cannot. If all we know how to do is fuckery, we ain't a good parent. And witches and warlocks, so let me make this plain, baby. I'm not talking about just what we classify in our social structure as witches and warlocks. Many are Christians, many are in church, so don't get it twisted. I'm talking about every last one of them, though. Understand? A good parent is not a fucking distorted witch. Period. And I don't care how rich you've been able to get. A healthy, good parent is not a fucking distorted witch or warlock. Is not a distorted leader either, baby. A good parent are showing their offspring how to handle the woes of life with integrity and honor. How to balance the difference between one's own emotional upheavals versus actual injustice. That's what a good parent is doing. That's what they're displaying. Teaching their children about boundaries on all ends, how to create them, how to reinforce them, but also to respect them. That's a good parent. Many parents, the ones that are accusing the targeted collective, have not managed to learn that lesson themselves, nor teach it. Which is ergo enter the birthing of the new generation of sociopaths and psychopaths. Good parents aren't teaching their children one way or the other, whether this is directly or indirectly. They're not teaching them how to be bullies. They're not teaching them how to be passive-aggressive bullies. We can't get our way, so we're going to stomp our way through today. A good parent aren't projecting toxicity onto innocent lives because they have odds with, good parents honor parentalhood. So if a good parent is honoring parentalhood, then it means that they're not going to be targeting children because they don't like the child's parents. A good parent certainly is not going to be teaching their offspring to take advantage of disabled people, mentally challenged people. A good parent is not going to teach their children to be predatory, to scheme out the scene to see who finna die so you can get. Yeah, see who you can, call them, talk to them, befriend them, be around because they finna die, bitch. And whoop, a good parent. This is why you're a good parent to the collective that I am addressing. So as you deal with these accusations, these humiliation rituals that always flop because you got to care for the humiliation ritual to be fully effective. These lies, these schemes, these plots, these traps. Remember, this is going to prevail. Truth. And as you continue to co-create and do all of the things within your means to do, but just know you are a good parent. You have already surpassed what you came from. And dismiss these people's glares, stares, and judgments that not one of them are in any position. Some of these people have had a highfalutin life. They have had everything handed to them. They got white privilege. They have, they don't know nothing about your life. They assume and let them. Because they're making asses of each of themselves. Some of these people should have been careful about that because they should have been checking their own parentalhood before trying to contact, you know what I'm saying, certain agencies. They should have really thought hard. Some of these people should have thought long and they should have thought hard. Before trying to come for your parentalhood or your ability to do what you've been mastering and doing, like I said, like a boss with minimum severe conditions while they can't even be basic in the bare minimum and supreme condition. They got whole, full, supportive systems and yet still can't be a good parent. Let's make that one make sense. You got a whole town. You got a whole full support system and yet failing. Let these people continue. And I know if you all like me out there, you feel bad. You feel bad because like I said, if you the ideal of just because of you being you. So continue to fight all the more because you know that there are people attacking you and your children because you are who you are. Fight for that justice in the ways that you can, in every way possible, very strategically. And then love on yourself and love on your children. And that's also what makes you a good parent. Because through the difficulties, finding ways creatively in moments to do that, to pour in. And I'm not talking about the gushy shit and just, oh, let's go buy something. No, I'm talking about actual nurture, which is something that eludes these beings, eludes these people. They know fake empathy and they know fake learned compassion that they have copied off of watching light ones. But giving that more to yourself, realizing the conditions of what you're dealing with. What you're dealing with, most can't handle. They puff and puff and they walk around beating their chest and stomping like they bad motherfuckers. But let me tell you something. They will all bend and fold like a bitch. You know why I know that's true? Because they're a sellout. So if they're a sellout, under normal conditions, what do you think they would do if they had to endure and experience what you are? That's my point. It's easy to walk around beating your chest when you got a whole entourage of motherfuckers. It's easy. You're not bad because you can do that. That's easy to do, baby. That's easy to do when you have normal situation and normal conditions. Let me see you stand alone and you and I stand toe to toe. Then we can talk. Then we can talk. Let's see. Let's match our circumstances down to the wire. And you stand toe to toe with me, then I may gain some respect for you. But the fact that you can get a group means nothing to me. The fact that you can be big and bad with resources and stuff, once again, that means absolutely nothing to me. Anybody under those circumstances could do that, baby. Anybody who knows somebody in a position of power can do that, dear. Now stand toe to toe with nothing, with none of that. Now let's see, and then I'll see how you talking there. I'll see how you talking. I'll see what you're gonna do. I'll see what you're willing to do then when you ain't got an entourage protecting you. Yeah. When you ain't got your whole everybody helping you to run your basic life. Let me take that from you. And then me and you can talk. Then I will listen to what you got to say. The collective of individuals I'm referring to are good parents. And it is absurd, sickening, and ludicrous, this pathetic attempts these people have been making to try to manufacture your poor parentalhood. Because a part of trying to make you sick is so that they can say that. If they can get you physically incapacitated in some way, to where you're ill, and as a byproduct, then saying, well, someone needs to step back. Which is a part of why they keep trying to poison you. Why they keep trying to make your conditions dire or affect your physicality because you are a good parent. This is why they had to work so hard. This is why they had to break banks, baby. This is why they've had to break fucking banks. They've had to break accounts. They've had to break accounts. They have had to go through multiple portals and means because you are a good parent. They've had to do that. Well, let's put them in a fucking run down, inhumane, code enforcement should have been tore that motherfucker down kind of living space. Surely they'll die. Surely they'll get sick enough something and then we can step in like we're heroes. So keep taking care of yourself. Fight for that too. Because again, that's your resolve. That's your strength. So if you need to pull back to rest so that you can do that, do it. Do what you do as you're governed to. Shake up your routine. Move at your own will. And that part of that is taking care of yourself. Finding ways to have fun. Finding ways to rest. Making sure you're investing in your health and well-being. That's a part of your armor. Because they're attacking that because they're needing to do away with you. With you.